Hey guys, it's me, Jess, and I need to tell you guys why I disappeared for this entire summer. Um, so first, let me apologize for doing so without any kind of an explanation, um, but I'll kind of come back around to that. But the last year or so has been really difficult on me. Um, a little over a year ago, I lost one of my best friends. She was also a CFer. I'd known her for a very, very long time. And I don't want to get into too many details about it just because, um, you know, probably could be a whole video on its own. But needless to say, it was really, really hard on me. I just had a really difficult time with it. And then um, shortly after her memorial service, I caught a cold. In fact, I probably actually picked it up at her memorial service from somebody. Because it was just a few days after that I started getting symptoms. But that ended up turning into bronchitis, which turned into hospitalization, which I have to be extremely sick to actually want to go into the hospital. So that was physically very hard on me. And then kind of once that was over, toward the end of October, beginning of November, is kind of when my seasonal depression starts to kind of kick up. The days get pretty short. I live in Washington State, actually not a heck of a long ways from the Canadian border. So really we get, in the winter, we have a lot more darkness than we do daylight. And so seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression is extremely common around here. So many people get it. And this past winter, it was worse than it normally is, but I just kind of attributed that to, still grieving for my friend, and was just kind of like, carry on, whatever. And then in February, I had my shoulder surgery, which was really, really painful and a really long recovery. And once I was finally able to start physical therapy, I was really excited about that, about being able to be, hopefully be more active, kind of get back into shape some. And I was doing really, really well with it. I was like this close to having my full range of motion back when I caught a cold that turned into bronchitis again. Luckily that time I was able to stay out of the hospital. But it did kind of stress me out because my sinus surgery was coming up. Luckily though, the antibiotic cocktail I went on that time worked really well for me. And so going into my sinus surgery, which was in the middle of June, I was feeling really good lung-wise. At that point though, I had realized that, we were coming up on the longest days of the year where my seasonal depression really should have, if not been gone completely, should have, been pretty close to there. But at the time I was like, I can't really deal with this right now. I have this surgery coming up. I don't want to be, potentially adding new medications or changing medications that could potentially complicate things for my surgery. So I was like, let's get this surgery out of the way and then I'll deal with the depression. So I never got like suicidal or had even thoughts of like harming myself in any way. You know, I didn't like start drinking or, you know, nothing like that. I've always been, once I was diagnosed with depression, which is a long, long time ago, I've always been really aware of the symptoms of my depression. And it's pretty common for me that every like 3 to 4 years or so, I have to change medications. And I kind of cycle between two different ones that work really well for me. Just because you know, it does take several years, like I said, but it seems like I just kind of build up a tolerance to one, and it just doesn't work as well anymore. So, you know, I knew this was a thing that was going on, but I needed to get my surgery out of the way, concentrate on recovery, and all that jazz. So I had my surgery, which my surgeon said was a pretty standard CF type surgery. He like cleaned out my sinuses, and removed some tissue to widen my nasal passages so that secretions wouldn't get stuck in there, to be able to move through. And he removed the bones that are in between the maxillary sinuses, which are the ones that are behind your cheekbones, and my actual like nose. They're actually, the bones he took out are actually behind my cheekbones, so I mean, I don't look any different. My face doesn't feel any different when I touch it. But he removed those bones so that those sinuses could drain more easily, which is all very common in CF sinus surgeries. And so that went really well. It was pretty painful just from the fact that, you know, they took out a bone. If you've ever broken a bone, you know how painful that is. You know, trying to get bone to heal. It hurts. And I went to my first follow-up about 2.5, 3 weeks after surgery, and I was like, I just wasn't feeling any better. I was on my second prescription of pain medication, which is weird. He said most people don't need to do that. But during my surgery, like, he took this, you know, little itty bitty camera and was like looking around in my sinuses and just seeing how things were healing up and kind of suction things out and whatever. But while he was doing that, it was really, really painful for me. And they do like spray lidocaine in your nose before they start to kind of help numb things. They can't make it so you don't feel anything just because there's so much tissue and nerves in your sinuses that there's no way that they can do that without actually knocking you out. But the lidocaine does help with some of that discomfort. But for me, it was actually really, really painful. But he kind of like cleared some stuff out, and he had put like stents in my nose that were like had a slow releasing steroid. I don't really know how it all works. But he was able to take those out, and that helped with like a lot of the feeling of pressure that I was having. So I thought, okay, those are out. Hopefully I'll start feeling better now. And he gave me another prescription for pain medication just in case I needed it. And I didn't plan on filling it unless I actually did need it. But, you know, as kind of the next couple of days went on and like the headache from having my face messed with wasn't going away, I was like, okay, honestly, like, what is going on here? And I talked to some other CFers who had this surgery, and they said, you know, most of them said that I should have really been feeling better at this point. But I gave it a little more time because my doctor said that, you know, I just had very, very sensitive sinuses. But about another week or so went by, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'd been in almost constant severe pain for about a month at this point. I couldn't stand it anymore, and I said, we need to do something. And so he gave me a prescription for some antibiotics. And after probably maybe 4 or 5 days of that, I finally started to feel better. My sinuses weren't so full. The feeling of pressure was going away. As that pressure was decreasing, the pain was decreasing. And after about a week or so of the antibiotics, I finally had my first day where I didn't have a headache. And so I was super excited. I was like, this is awesome. And I still had another week of antibiotics to go, but I was like, you know, I finally was like, okay, I'm on the mend now. And at the last couple days of that 2 weeks of antibiotics, I started having a lot of pain in my hands and feet, and then in my right knee. And the antibiotic that I was on is known to cause tendonitis in some people, and I was on a very high dose. So I only had a couple days left, so I stopped taking it. And pretty quickly the pain in my hands and feet went away. My knee took longer just because, you know, I can sit and rest on the couch and not really do anything with my hands to let that inflammation in the tendons be relieved. My feet weren't nearly as bad as my knee anyway. But you know, I still had to walk around. I don't have crutches or anything. So it took a while then for my knee to start healing up. But in the meantime, I did go and see another doctor of mine about the depression, and I cycled onto my second antidepressant that I have been on in the past. And so it's been about, I want to say 6 or 7 weeks now that I've been on it, and I am feeling better as far as the depression goes. I'm still not quite where I would like to be, but I do have some stuff going on within my family that at this time I don't want to talk about on my channel. It's just kind of a rough time for mostly my immediate family, me, my parents, and my brother, but also, you know, of course, anything that affects your immediate family affects extended family as well. Not any time, but a lot of times, but this does. So that's been difficult, and it's something that we're probably going to be dealing with for a few more months at least. So we'll just kind of have to see what the future holds as far as that goes. I may end up increasing the dose of my antidepressants slightly because of all this stressfulness that's going on. But I do feel like things are looking up as far as my moods go. And, you know, I've been painting a lot. I am kind of starting to feel like I'm making a name for myself, as far as my paintings go. I've sold quite a few pieces, this year, and have taken quite a few commissions, and so things are really kind of looking up as far as that whole thing goes. So yeah, you know, this has been a rough year for me, like health-wise, in almost every sense of the word. My mental health, my physical health, you know, had some very stressful times, very painful times, and, you know, something kind of had to give. I needed to take a step back from something in my life, and that something ended up being YouTube. You know, I use Facebook a lot to stay in touch with extended family. Work pretty much all over the country, my extended family, so it's kind of the best way to keep track of everybody. And also, that's how I stay in touch with a lot of my CF friends. So I wasn't willing to take a long break from Facebook because I knew it was probably going to end up being a long break with, getting bronchitis and then having my surgery right on top of that. And I had wanted to get back to doing videos for you guys sooner, but this whole sinus surgery thing has really been a mess. I had another infection last month, and I just, at this point, if I could go back in time and tell my past self not to have the sinus surgery, I think that's what I do, because it's just been kind of like one thing after another. And my sinuses still don't feel great. I'm trying to get in to see my ENT again. But I am finally feeling good enough to be more active. I've gone on a few hikes, easy to a little bit moderate, which usually ends up being kind of on the hard end for me, just with breathing and everything. So I've done that. Been able to get back on my elliptical machine. I'm applying for a grant to get a gym membership. So I feel like I am getting back to life, really. Being able to exercise again, I think, has been really helpful. It's good for your physical and mental health. One of the things that has been so frustrating for me this year has just been like, I've had to be so inactive. And I've just felt kind of like trapped in my house and in my body. And so feeling good enough to at least be able to do a little bit here and there is great. That has really helped me a lot, I think. So, that's the situation. And so I really am going to try to start doing videos for you guys on a regular basis. It might only be weekly for a little while until I kind of get back into the swing of things. Maybe, I don't know. We'll just have to see what the future holds as far as that goes. But I would really like to do some like Halloween videos for you guys, because I love Halloween. And so, yeah, we'll just kind of have to see what happens. But yeah. So, I'm sorry I disappeared on you guys with no explanation, but at the time I just wasn't ready to put it out there to the world that I was dealing with kind of a moderate amount of depression, and then the sinus surgery was just so awful for me that I just like physically was like not feeling up to sitting here and telling you guys what was going on in my life. And then there was a whole lot of like nothing going on in my life because I just couldn't do anything. So, but that's where I'm at. So I apologize to you guys for disappearing. I hope you understand after, hearing this whole explanation. And sorry this was a little bit long-winded, but I knew it was kind of gonna be. But I hope to be seeing you guys more often now. And that's about it. So I hope you guys come back and stay tuned for what's coming up. Love you guys. Bye.